Dude, exciting. So today we got a guest. It's Dan Martell. This is his second time on the podcast because he's that good. So he's the best-selling author of Buy Back Your Time, #1 executive coach for software CEOs in the world. He's also founder of the Martell Ventures, a portfolio of AI-first companies that prioritize innovation. It's kind of one of the reasons I want to talk to him about all the AI stuff. So he spent time in jail and rehab at the age of 17 and totally turned it around. He's invested in 60-plus startups, named Forbes' top 10 business people to follow on social media, highly sought-after speaker, including Tony Robbins, John Maxwell, and other top leaders. He's also a husband, a dad of 2 boys, and he's not in family mode. He's competing in Ironman races and supporting troubled youth in the community. This is my interview with Dan Martell. Hope you enjoy it. Dan Martell, what's up? Thanks for being here again.
An honor,
Round
Michael.
2.
It is.
Yeah. What keeps bringing you back to Austin? What's
The people, man. I always get these young people going like, hey, man, I want to move. Where should I move to? And I used to say, especially as a software guy, the Valley. And honestly, like now it's Austin. I'm a big fan of 3 things: tech, comedy, media.
Nah, well,
You literally couldn't create a place that had that better than Austin tech.
there's got to be a really high percentage of podcasters in Austin.
It's off the charts. I wonder if somebody put the top, like, let's say 50 pods, I would say a third are probably in Austin. I mean, especially for my industry. But I mean, like, I think, even like Michael and Lauren Bostic, like there's people in different categories that are in Austin.
I think it was already kind of like that. Then Joe Rogan made the move, and that and then all the comedy guys have big podcasts, and then, it just blew up.
Yeah, it's actually interesting as a concept. I remember I was speaking at Big Omaha. This was a decade ago, and Gary Vee and I were having lunch, and he posed the question, what do you think the value of somebody notable moving to a city is from an economic development? He was arguing that if Jack from Twitter moved to Omaha, because I think he grew up there, like the city should pay him to do that, not only just because of the business he would bring, but just the ecosystem. And in many ways, you kind of seen that with Joe Rogan, with the Comedy Mothership and bringing the podcast, and the guests come here and, they come hang out for a little bit. The Jelly Rolls, like they just like, I like this place. Next thing you know, they're buying real estate.
Well, they're like the cool kids move to town, and then everyone else hears about it. So for every Joe Rogan, there's like 1,000 guys like in venture capital or software or something that move here quietly who aren't going to be talking about it.
Yeah, they don't have an audience.
And then their employees and all sorts of stuff like that. So I've seen a lot of big people move here, then they bring their companies here and their employees here, and henceforth the families. So I've lived in Austin since 2001.
Oh, wow.
Right? And my whole other like extended family lives in Houston, so we go back and forth. So Austin's like far enough away, totally different city, and Houston's close enough, but I like the vibe of Austin, and I've watched it grow from just like a college town. So you're either 21 years old, huge gap, 45 years old.
Oh, wow.
There was no 30-year-olds in Austin. It didn't exist. Literally, I was the only one for a while, I think. And then now it's just like there's a whole economy that's filled in. There's a med school. There's actual companies here where you can have a career, you can have a house, all that kind of stuff. So Austin's just like starting a compound now that has like a full economy rather than just this like
the full stack
tiny,
and a big gap.
I mean, every time someone go to medical school, they had to leave University of Texas. They didn't want to, but they have to go somewhere else.
No opportunity.
Now we're retaining all those people. So the story since I've moved here is like there's 100 people a day moving here. Then it was 150, 250. Then, during 2020, 2021, it just like went asymptotic and you couldn't even follow it anymore.
Yeah.
But the one thing I think that it's holding you back compared to California is California's beauty and weather.
That is what it's got.
That is why everyone goes to California. It's just like perfect weather every day.
Yeah,
in
if
LA.
they didn't have oceanfront, cliffs, properties, the nature, the greenery.
No, what else is holding you there then?
100%.
It's like the environment is over there. And then I'm sure if you go to Lake Travis and stuff over here.
I did, man. I got some wake surfing done on Sunday. It was awesome.
Doesn't feel like downtown.
No,
right? It feels
zero.
like a different city.
Don't feel like I'm close to a desert. It was wild.
There's these weird beaches around Austin too that we have like on the lake that are pretty cool. Like you go boating and you're just like, is this like Utah or something like that? Like it feels crazy over here when you're by the lake. So I think a lot of people like Joe Rogan and stuff that have nice houses on Lake Austin and everything.
I went by his house.
They're kind of like
pretty cool house. I was expecting somebody's like, you should go in his yard. I'm like, I don't want a bow and arrow in my chest. Like, what are we talking about?
I probably wouldn't wander on random properties in Texas.
No.
Yeah. That's usually not an advisable thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're renting a house here for the month.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. What else are you going to be doing here?
Usually once a week, like today, I try to do a media day. So I just finished shooting a bunch of content. So I do my YouTube channel, my shorts, and then podcasts like this and others. I think I've got 2 or 3 just right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to batch them together because if I'm going to be away from the family, it's like, let's get some stuff done.
Nice. So I feel like you've already made like your money. You could probably, I'm assuming you could live forever.
100%.
At this point,
yeah.
You're just like, so now like work is optional, I would say.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the funny thing about even the word work. What does work mean? It means like
this is work, but it doesn't feel like work.
And this is the thing is that to somebody that's, doing landscaping in the hot sun for 18 hours a day, they call that work. And, I wouldn't dishonor their effort by trying to say what I do is close to that. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think if you're fortunate enough to get to a place where you realize everything you've been working for, and that's the funny part, if we just talk about being wealthy, people try to create, get rich so that they can do what they want with who they want whenever they want.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that doing that for 3, 4, 5 weeks, I think I lasted 7 months, turns out to feel really unfulfilling. Then the question is, okay, if you can do anything with your time, what would you want to do? I actually think that's where like the whole AI infrastructure is going to allow people to experiment with this, that it's going to create a crisis of meaning for a lot of people. Because when you truly, this, Neville, like some people, if you actually said, poof, magic wand, blank piece of paper, what would you want to do with your life? Maybe for the rest of your life, or even for 5 years, they'd be like, I don't really know. I think that's an interesting question to think about. And yeah, I definitely feel fortunate to be able to do that on a daily basis.
I heard a Earl Nightingale quote from back in the day, and he said, most people think work is killing them, but it's the only thing keeping them alive. And I think that's really true.
Retired people, right? People work their whole life to finally someday retire, and they make it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years because they forgot that purpose actually was a life force. Like waking up and creating every day is actually what we're here to do.
So you and I are lucky that we work in internet stuff that's kind of scalable. So we record this pod and then someone can break it up and put it out. So it looks like we're doing a lot, but in reality, it's just like 1 hour at
I take 3 hours a week to create all my content on social media.
Oh, so you just got it on like a little autopilot thing.
It's not even autopilot. I invested in the infrastructure. So I have a team. You met Sam. Sam runs my whole creative team. There's a team of, I think, 13 people that do everything on the back end. I wrote a whole book on it called Buy Back Your Time, which is try to help people do the thing that only they can do. And if they have leverage, they can figure out how to finance that so that they don't have to do the other stuff. And that's been my whole life.
So you're saying 3 hours a week or a month?
3 hours a week.
So just like one day, you're recording
Not even one day, 3 hours. Like I just finished doing those 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
I shot 2 YouTube videos and a short and like a bunch of shorts.
So you do this, and then someone takes it, creates a long form out of it. Then someone creates short form, and then content out of it. Is that how it goes?
When I do this stuff, I don't consider that in the 3 hours. I'm talking creation. If hanging out with somebody I want to talk to is work, we could be doing this over lunch or recording it. And it's cool that it's content. But yeah, the content is like the stuff I have to do. Like my YouTube videos take like 80 hours of effort from the team as a whole. I only show up for an hour to shoot the video.
So then when you say creating, are you like typing stuff? Like
no, I don't.
Writing
I literally do nothing other than show up.
Okay.
I don't do the pre-validation, the research, the packaging, the designs, the outlines, the editing, the publishing, the promotion, like at scale, like we added 1 million subs on YouTube in the last 12 months.
Damn.
Yeah, it's not like a lot of people do YouTube. A lot of people do podcasts. I have an aspiration to try to do it at the highest level. So that's a completely different level of effort than what most people do.
And why are you creating so much media? Like what is the
it
purpose?
Occurred to me. This is what's wild, okay? I remember I was in Vegas, and prior to this moment, my book had just come out, Buy Back Your Time. I talked to a bunch of people we both know, and they said, like, don't just let it launch and then not support it. Like, go out there and do the podcast tour. And I was a little reluctant, but I was like, hey, really proud of the work. And I remember I'm sitting at dinner with Layla Hermosi, Alex Hermosi, and Caleb, who they just hired, and they've been ramping up their media. This was 2.5 years ago at the very beginning of their kind of like investment and focus. And I thought to myself, because Alex at the time had told me several times, like he's not an organic guy, right? And he's shared this publicly. And I remember sitting there and I said, all right, bro, sell me on it. Because I've known Alex and Leah at that point for 3 or 4 years. And then he walks me through the math. And as he says these things, I think to myself, oh my gosh, I've been doing all of this on hard mode. All the media, the marketing, the promotion. Because like no matter what you want to create in the world, people need to know about it. And prior to that, I had a marketing department. I did marketing. I do air quotes marketing. He was talking about brand. Brand's different. In that moment, it occurred to me that everything I wanted to create in this world, this vision I have for my life going forward, on the backside of 2 things, this is what I told myself, it would all get easier or bigger. And it was reach and reputation. How many people know who you are and what do they think about you? So you can call that personal brand, but it's really about, back in the day when I started, people used to say it's who you know. Who you know will make you successful. If you know the right person, you know the bank manager, you know the right talent, they'll support you. Now it's who knows you. When you can go to an event, I mean, it's not even that. I got invited to speak at Tony Robbins' Business Mastery. There's probably 1 million entrepreneurs that would love the opportunity to speak on that stage. He heard of, decided on, Googled me, looked at my stuff and said, that's the guy I want to teach my clients. That doesn't happen without reach and reputation. The book's done incredibly well. I think it would have done okay, but it's done really well. Like it's a best-selling book right now in time management, productivity, and small business on Amazon, and has been for 2 years because I continue to invest in growing the audience. So once I realized that going all in on what people call a personal brand, but I would just say there's a brand, it's called your name. I will take me with me for the rest of my life. I don't plan on changing my name. And if I have a positive reputation associated with my name, everything I want to do, from recruiting to investing to travel to opportunities, all gets easier. I just ran the numbers. It made the most sense as a force multiplier or a step functions of growth to invest in it.
So I know you coach all these like software companies, right? I don't know if you know a percentage, but what percentage of them are doing personal brand stuff like that now?
I mean, I think there's a echo chamber. I mean, most of the folks I work with now, I mean, like Tommy Mello, who has a $600 million a year kind of garage door. So like the book came out and I stopped spending so much time with just software entrepreneurs, coaching them. But the ones I do work with are just folks that understand that like, hey, money's cool. What else? And the what else usually for a lot of people is impact. Like if I only had 5 years to live right now, like I think this is actually a healthy thing to do. And I've been doing it for 15 years. Every year, at the end of the year, my wife and I sit down, we plan, and I ask myself the question, if I only had 5 years left here on earth, what would I want to do with my time? Because 5 years is a perfect amount of time to force you to do stuff without being irresponsible. If you only had 6 months, dude, it's sell everything, go travel the world, get one house, bring all your friends, pour into that. You know what I mean? 5 years is like this beautiful time frame. So most people, when they get quiet with themselves, especially if they've built a multi-billion-dollar business, they want to leave something for other people. They either want to write a book, they want to create a group, a nonprofit thing. So to me, I was already doing all the other stuff. I just wanted to amplify it, and the personal brand was the fastest way to do that. Whereas some people that are still in build mode with their tech company, no, they shouldn't get distracted with building the personal brand, because some businesses don't need it. But if you're trying to personally have impact, that is the highest form of leverage.
I've also noticed that it's harder. I think it's harder now to build a personal brand. It's easier in some ways, but I think harder in the fact that like everyone is on social media. The president's on social media. Elon Musk, all these billionaires are now on social media. And it used to just be kind of just like some weird fringe people talking. So the bar was low. Like if you just posted it all, you would get some traction. Now it's like there's big produced teams like yours that you're going up against. So are you seeing it become more difficult, or is it easier now that just more eyeballs?
I don't think it's harder. I just think it's always required people to be more creative. When I look at these fringe influencers or creators that it's them and their iPhone, like Leo Skeppy. Have you seen Leo Skeppy?
I don't think, but I know what you're talking about. Just like low production.
He literally talks to his phone as if you're on a FaceTime with him. And he brings you into his life. And he's got 6 million followers, and he's getting brand deals, and he's probably making $1 million a year. what is required and always has been. I was having dinner a couple nights ago with Chris Do, who's been on social for a while.
Yeah. Love that guy.
He's awesome. Yeah, and he was asking me about the media stuff, and I was telling him, most people are scared of effort. Most people aren't willing to invest in themselves. Most people, and I walked him through exactly how I'm doing what I'm doing, and he politely, in the kindest way, says, "I hear what you're saying, but I kind of disagree on one thing." And I said, "What's that?" He goes, "You underestimate the X factor." He goes, "Dan, like when you communicate, like there's a thing there. You know what you're talking about. You're charismatic. You can tell a joke. You smile. You know what I mean?" Yeah. He goes, "But you grab the waitress who hasn't made a facial, like, you know what I mean? And you give him, and you get literally say the exact same words as you, and that goes nowhere." So there is that part of it. Now, I believe it's a learned skill because I know I learned it because I used to be an introverted programmer that just want to code all day long. That's why I got into software development. I didn't want to talk to people. Mm-hmm. I thought, oh, this is great. I'm going to collaborate with people through open source technologies back in the day, and I'll never have to. Well, it turns out it's a really hard way to build a business if you don't have a team. So then it's like, oh, people need to know who you are. I can't hire. If I'm competing to hire top talent, this guy everybody knows and they like him, and people are like, I want to work for that guy versus this nobody. So. But I think that's the part with social media that I don't know the numbers, Neville, and it kind of is in the same realm as when the internet came. Everybody said, oh, it's going to be easier to start a business. I think from a psychology point of view and a creativity and an interest point of view, I'm not sure it's harder. I think it's always going to be the same. And the percentage of people that win are the same percentage of people that win. And it's a byproduct of them willing to do what it takes. Dude, you know this. Right off the bat, if you're not consistent, they're like, oh, it's hard to get attention. You haven't been consistent. You did 7 episodes of your podcast. That's your problem. It's not that Joe Rogan exists, that you failed. It's you didn't even show up. If you actually look at the volume of consistency and videos required, like people see me today, million in the last 12 months. They didn't see the 9 years prior.
Yeah.
9 years. I've been doing this for 10 years. And for 8 of them, I was amateur hour at best. Why? Because I bragged at how little effort I put into creating my content.
Yeah, that was like your whole spiel.
That was my whole thing, man. I would tell people, I brag about it. And then I was wondering why I didn't get 100,000 subs. And then I decided to go from, having a marketing department and trying to reduce the amount I was spending on it to, hey, let's actually try to make great content. Let's make it for the audience. And all of a sudden we get 100,000 and then 9 months later we're at 1 million. It's crazy.
Yeah. Where does this, okay, so the AI question comes up over here. AI, I used to be able to predict probably like 5 years in the future. I feel like I used to. AI's come around. Now there's this haze around 1 year, and it starts to get really fuzzy. AI is like roughly 2 years old. 2. And it's completely changed everything. Like, I mean, at least in our world, it's completely upended a lot of things. It's allowed programmers to do stuff that like you just never thought was possible.
Not in the time frame.
Like an API is now basically, you could just have like an employee, instead of an employee like reviewing a blog post and making it better, an API call that costs 1 cent can do it now.
Yeah.
And so where does some of the social media stuff go? Because now anyone can theoretically make a lot of content. So now it's just going to be like a lot more content being poured out there. But I don't know. I feel like
there's a few things you said that I agree with. And right off the bat is I don't know. Okay. And this is a guy that's invested millions in my venture company. So I have a venture studio that just does AI powered software. That's full development team, engineers, data scientists. I spend more time on a site called Hugging Face, testing out the latest models. Yeah. So anybody that really knows. So like reviewing kind of like, how do we vectorize this data? How do we figure out the embeddings? Like real nerdy AI stuff, not using ChatGPT or even a wrapper or a tool. And what I tell my team is, I don't know. All I know is that we're in it. It's kind of like, I don't know what the internet's going to look like, but I want to be in the server room. I want to be at the application layer. I want to talk to the designers. I want to like figure out what the state of the art is. When it comes to media through that context, essentially my philosophy is I believe that what AI can never do is understand the human experience. Like truly, like, dude, when you hear a lyric, right? Or you hear like Dr. Dre, that down. Like when you hear these songs, like that's why I study songwriters. That's like my favorite thing to do. So like Ed Sheeran stuff, Benny Blanco, just all these guys. There's a whole YouTube genre of people that interview songwriters, right? There's a Netflix documentary on it about Nashville, because you watch them collaborate. And then, you know, Taylor Swift will be like, but it's kind of more like, dun, dun, dun. And then the guy will say like, oh, like this. And then she'll be like, yes. That is that creative process of art. I don't think AI will ever replace that, because if you actually look at songs over the centuries, right, or decades, they all change. So all AI can do for now, from my experience, is look back at what's worked. It's not innovating. It's not hearing stuff or doing remixes in a way that's really, I think, pushing the art form, because I think that is always going to be an expression of the culture, right? And we see this all the time. Right now, what's going viral is like, I don't know, this argument about like 100 men versus a gorilla. I'm not sure if you saw this meme. So like, that's the kind of stuff where I think it's really fostered by the creativity. Where I think AI supports people is in getting rid of all the other stuff, the research, the process. We built this custom AI tool called Turbo B-Roll that essentially helps us search our NAS. We have a terabytes of data of backlog footage for B-rolls when we're editing videos. That infrastructure is AI powered. We use it for a ton of social media awareness stuff. I have this app that I call Social Sweep. It did something yesterday that I didn't even think that I should do. We're working on a new AI workshop, and I wanted some sponsors for the workshop that are people that I might know. So because I built this app called Social Suite, which monitors all my different social profiles, including my email, I asked it, who do I know that could sponsor it? And it told me the guy's name that works in biz dev at the top hosting company. Now, the reason it told me the hosting company is because they just announced this new AI developer tool that sits on top of the hosting that they thought they'd want to promote. But it knew that because it knew that I had talked to them over email, said no to sponsoring my YouTube channel because I don't do brand deals. But public news was that they launched this thing, and it told me, reach out to that guy. Huh. Dude, when you think of media, ideation, relationships, collaborations, I think that's where AI should be used right now, and not, I mean, people are doing these faceless YouTube videos and there's some great ones, right? I didn't realize, but I'd say 10% of my YouTube watching is, you know, motivational stuff in the background while I'm at the gym, but it's actually AI generated.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to replace the creative process of humans yet. And I reserve the right to change my mind in 18 months because who knows?
Hey, it's Neville here. And let me tell you something about making all this content. It costs time and money and effort to make all of these things, and we put them out for free. For example, to film this costs money. To edit this costs money. To spend the time uploading it to all the different social networks costs time and human capital and money and software and all kinds of stuff. And all I ask for you in return is to just like, subscribe, and comment to something. This is a free way that you can return to me. You never have to buy anything from me ever, but I really do ask that you just click the like button. It's free for you. Or maybe even leave a comment, or maybe share it with someone. These are all ways that really, really help me out, but cost you nothing. And it's a great way to return the favor. So if you like whatever I do over here, just make sure to like, subscribe, comment on all the different platforms. And that means the world to me. Thank you so much. I hope to keep informing you, educating, and entertaining. Talk to you later. I was trying to think of like a mnemonic to think about this. And I wish I could draw this out, but it's just like, there's you, and there's like the thing that you finish for someone. Like, let's say I'm going to build a wall at your house, you know, build a fence or something like that. So it's like, I am going to build Dan a fence and he pays me money for it. Pretty simple, right? But the funny thing is, a lot of the economy is like, okay, that now I have to bill you. So now I have to send you an invoice. Well, as I'm a fence builder, I don't know how to send an invoice. So I have to pay a company to do that. Then I have to like file my taxes. So I pay QuickBooks to do all my accounting. I feel like all that other shit that I don't want to do is going to slowly be eaten away by technology and AI. It's already a lot, right? Already it's happened a lot.
Step one was technology.
Step one was technology, automation.
Software will eat the world. Mark Andreessen. Yeah.
And then instead of like having QuickBooks and some guy programming, just tell, you know, ChatGPT 7.
Or it monitored, be like, it knows you're done. And
do my taxes.
Yeah, do my taxes.
Just to like look at my credit card and like figure it out. And it just does it. And it's like, cool, go build Dan that fence. I'll take care of your taxes for you. So I think like that's it. That the economy is basically where the technology is not out yet.
I say that AI is going to eat the middlemen. The person that aligns your back, the chiropractor, or builds the HVAC system for your new house, like that person will be employed. It's the people that sit in this information arbitrage or processing or workflows that they're the ones that are up for, and that's why I think the personal brand and AI are two of the most important places to invest your time and energy, because that'll be the last thing. The personal brand will be the last thing impacted, and AI is where all the opportunity is going to be economically. So like, that's why I do media and ventures. It's literally Martell Media, Martell Ventures. And in there, that's why people are like, where's the future? Don't know, don't care. Because I'll be participating in it, and I'm at the front, I'm at the edge. So as soon as it goes a little this way, I just like, oh, let's go do that. Let's go do this.
Me and my buddy Noah Kagan were just like talking, just chatting, like bouncing ideas around. And he has a partner named Chad at AppSumo, who's a tech
Is he
guy.
a Chad?
No, he's actually the nicest guy ever. Yeah, his name screws him, but he's the smart tech guy, which is not what you think of Chad is. Yeah, smart tech guy. And then there's Noah, okay, mediocre on tech, not programming or anything, but really good at marketing.
Definitely.
And I was just like, who's going to get more affected by AI? You, the marketing guy, or the tech guy? Because on one hand, the tech guy has amplified powers now with AI. He doesn't need a coding assistant. He doesn't need to sit there writing for loops anymore. He can just go do things a lot faster. But then the marketing guy always needed the tech guy, and now the marketing guy can kind of do with the tech. I think he still does.
Personally, my bet is on distribution. Yeah, I think when the cost, I have a friend who runs the largest CTO organization, and he had me speak at his event last week, and all the CTOs are scared of the same thing. Our budgets got reduced by 50%. We don't need as many engineers to write the code. What is my job? And yet the marketer is looking at this and going, oh my gosh, I can get the product built and I know how to market it better. So like the AI is making the marketer more efficient. The AI is making the engineer more efficient, but the building software has never been the problem. The problem is always trying to get people to use it.
But can't the developer or tech guy say, hey, AI, help me market?
I don't think that's how the marketing has ever worked. This is a creative thing. Like if it was as easy as just telling ChatGPT to create a sales page, then everybody'd be rich.
That's fair.
I mean, you know this. It's like it'll support you to get to a place. But like every artistic approach, that last 10% is what makes it unique and different and powerful. I mean, I've watched, ad copy tweaks and split tests, and sometimes it's literally the one sentence or the way it ends or the call to action that makes the whole thing 10x better. We see this even with media, the hook tests, right? So right now we're using Instagram trials, but we've also been using TikTok forever to actually run split tests. And the right hook. And if you looked at them, you go like, what's the difference? It's cultural desire. I can't even explain it. I don't know if it's the quality of the video felt more realistic or the way it was said was more off the cuff or like they liked my hair better. I don't literally know. All I know is this thing has 10 to 100 times more views. It's wild.
Where are you seeing people make money in AI now? Like, what's like the lowest hanging fruit? I'm sure, like on the top end.
Oh yeah, top end, you
got Sam Altman, but then like, who's on the low end? Who's making money in it?
Yeah. So on the very bottom, this is, I think, all the generative like blog, copy, thumbnail is one of my new favorite ones. Like especially with the new GPT image creation, you can literally feed it. Like especially if you go niche, because riches are in the niches. You go niche on being a thumbnail designer. Okay, and some people are like, people pay me to do thumbnails. Yeah, we pay people like $2,000 a month to do variations of thumbnails because they're that important. Click-through rates, the CTRs is what, if you don't get the right click-through rates, the rest of the video never gets seen. It's kind of like the subject line on an email.
Yeah.
Nobody will open it. And right now, I think for sure, our guy that does our thumbnails, he studied the niche we're in and found all the top thumbnails that are working right now, and they're outliers. So you have to use a tool like 1 of 10 or View Stats or something to find the outliers, because the outliers is actually where the signal is. Everything else is noise. And then use that as the input to teach and train the AI today, right now, in this, like currently, not in 6 months, but right now, this is what's working. Create some variations for me. I mean, there was a Facebook ad platform that I got demoed last week, and they were showing how they're creating, I wish I would remember the name. They're doing 100 new ad creatives in real time per day, running the budget, picking the winners, running the winners, and then creating another 100 the following day. So they can, because that's the only way, as you probably know, you can scale like $500,000 a month or $1 million a month in Facebook ads effectively, right? And oftentimes it's the ad people, like the pros. This is what's crazy is the pros know this, but it's making the tools available to the amateurs. So the pros know 4 parts of the ad. Here's the open, you know what I mean? And then we're going to run the variations to figure out which ones work. And then we're going to keep running these new creatives. Now the amateurs get access to the tools to do what the pros do inherently, but for a fraction of the cost and not amount of effort, right? Like just creating 100 ads per day, if you had to do it manually, would just be the most laborsome, boring job. Now it's click of the button. So that's where I think AI can make a lot of money, is just an arbitrage of people not knowing that AI can do the work and charging people to do the work. And on the back end, you're using that.
I talked to Matt Gray, I don't know if you know him online, Founder OS, and he was talking about that. They have these old videos that kind of just like, plateaued. And then they just have a guy just going in and retesting the stuff.
Yeah. You repackage it.
Literally like nothing has changed. Yeah. And they just, you see this like,
dude, Mr. Beast has been doing this forever. Like I remember one time I'm like in my recommended videos, I saw a video, but it was like 14 months old. And I remember watching the video, but I don't remember it being packaged that way. And that's what Mr. Beast does, is he goes to old videos, updates the thumbnails, retitles it, and sees if it can get the algorithm to pick it back up.
So is that how you make viral videos, basically?
I think you have to. Now, okay, if we want to talk about effort in regards to content, here's the big thing that most people would not know unless they're in at the highest level. 50% of the effort to create the content is way before you ever shoot the content. So if you think you're just going to sit in front of a camera and start riffing and create viral content, you will, maybe 1 of 50.
Yeah.
If you want to do like we're doing, I think we're like 1 out of 10, right? Where we're getting millions of views on our content. First step you have to do is you got to pre-validate. You have to literally go, what's working right now in the market in the last month? So we have these tools that we've built to tell us on these channels, here are their outliers. Here's reels and hooks, and here's what the world's talking about right now. If you want to be relevant, like the 100 versus a gorilla, like, dude, we have an app that monitors for this and tells us, and then we just look at like, okay, what's Dan's brand? Would he authentically want to comment on that? And then I do or I don't. So I'm definitely going to comment because I think I have an opinion on it. So there's like the research, which I call pre-validation. That has to happen. Again, these are the things my team does for me. And then it's, okay, what's Dan's unique point of view? And this is where AI, like I have a head of word, so he's a copy, you would appreciate this. So he's a copywriter, his name's Joel, but we call him head of word because he runs a word team. So we have a word team, we have a long form team, we have a short form team, and they all have leaders and they own the production. So Joel analyzes everything I've ever said. He watches every podcast, every time, even private phone calls where I'm working with clients, he watches it and he pulls out what he calls unique perspectives. What is Dan's unique perspective on things? So he's got this all logged, I think, in a Notebook LM app and all this stuff, but he's got it there. So then he'll look at what the market is responding to. He'll look at Dan's unique perspective, and then he'll create just little bulleted outlines of stuff for me to talk about. So when I sit down, like, even before we started, you're like, hey, is there anything you want me to ask you about? I'm like, no, just ask me whatever you want because I want to give you my authentic response. So when I sit down with my team and they ask me a question, it's my authentic response, but it's also the thing that they know is going to work. And sometimes they'll ask me specifically, be like, well, you always say this. What do you mean by that? Boom. So they edit just the what I say, not the question. And that's how you literally use AI to find and validate and test what's working to then create the media that the world's going to respond to. That's aligned with your brand, because that's the other thing. If you want to just get views, there's probably some pretty nefarious things I could do, but.
Yeah, I mean, this is, that used to be a hard thing. And I know like Noah had a big team. You had a big team for YouTube. And it's kind of funny because what you're describing, I'm like, this is literally a free ChatGPT project. They had GPTs. Now they have just ChatGPT projects.
Yep.
You can upload all your stuff, blog posts, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, and just ask it questions. You'd be like, what are the top ranking things to ask? And it'll do that. So like kind of anyone.
These research models are doing a really good job at it. Again, what will never, I think for now, get replaced is taste.
Yeah. So like when
like a final.
I consume a lot of video across Instagram, YouTube. I'm on it all day.
Yeah.
And one of the things is just like, I don't think I ever in a million years or in AI probably wouldn't have thought about this specific thing. There was a video that went mega viral by the science YouTuber guy. And it's like, why are there 18 million black balls in this water? And you're just like, what? And then it turns out they put all these like balls over this reservoir to stop evaporation, whatever. And so like, I was just like, that is the most grabbing, like I have to click that. Like I can't not click that. And that's not something that ChatGPT necessarily would have come up with.
It wouldn't.
It would have been like, what physics question, whatever. It
would have told you directionally though, hey, these formats, because that's what it's called, is a format.
Mm-hmm.
These formats work. So if you've ever watched, I'm a student of media because now that I've realized how important it is. So I've watched every interview, every Colin and Samir interview, every Mr. Beast interview, like just gone down the rabbit. I even study like this guy Dan, who's the editor of Mr. Beast's philanthropic channel, who's one of the best editors in the world. He did a 3.5-hour video. I'm never editing a video. I've never edited a video, and I know more about After Effects and production log files and all that stuff. Why? Because I want to study the craft. What you learn watching those guys is there's guardrails, there's formats for what works. In a market, it fatigues, so they call it format fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
So the AI could analyze and go, here's what we think the format is. This concept of high volume of obscure object in a normal place that you wouldn't expect it. So that's the format. So then, okay, based on that format, give me a bunch of variation of ideas. Now the human might have to go validate that these things are even true, or you can ask the AI to do it. But that's the part I think that the human involvement of crafting and refining. You want to know the person who I never expected to have any smart opinion on AI that actually said something incredibly smart was?
Who?
Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck was being interviewed. I don't even know why they were on the topic of AI. Maybe
I think I saw this clip. Yeah.
Did you see this clip? Yeah. And he's like, here's why AI will never replace the role of a producer or an artist or whatever, is because they don't know when to stop. They don't know when they're taking things away. When is it the Michelangelo? When is it the Da Vinci? When is it, you know what I mean? And I kind of was like, oh, you're right. Because those pieces of art with one extra thing or one thing missing doesn't create the emotional and the period of time and the narrative behind the story. Like, people underestimate that the story of the messenger matters more than the message. It's not, can the AI give me the right answer? I want to know where and why and how it decided to give me that answer. It's why people pay for coaches or consultants or advisors. It's not that you can't get the answer from somewhere else. I know who you are. I know what you stand for. I've seen you operate. You've built trust with me over time, and you understand my context. And when you say, based on what you've shared with me, this is the sequence of events I think you should do, that carries more weight than GPT's 03 model said I should do this based on the fact of the questions I've prompted it. It's only able to give it to you based on what you've told it. And the other person's giving it to you based on who it is and who it thinks you are. And if you trust that, the action's only going to be done if they trust you. And that's why I built this platform called Clarity.
Clarity FM.
Yeah.
We promoted it at Sumo early on.
Appreciate it. So it's like getting advice from people over the internet. Early days, I was like, oh, everybody's going to want to talk to everybody. This is awesome. Turns out, no, they only want to talk to the person they think actually knows what they're talking about. So it's not what the person says, it's who is the person. The messenger matters more than the message. Same words, different person. Parent says, you should do this with your life. Leave me alone, parent. Bill Gates says, you should do this with life. Same words, same advice. And you're like, oh, Bill Gates knows more than my parents.
I mean, I've probably been asking ChatGPT more than, and Grok and all the AIs, more stuff than like any coach or friend.
I think it's one of the coolest use cases is using it as a therapist or as a sparring partner for the mind. Some of my spiritual friends are really not happy about that I promote that concept. I don't care. Because it's true. I think if you're in your head, you're dead. I think a lot of people get stuck in life because they don't have anybody that they trust in their life to have those kind of conversations, those existential, like, meaning of life conversations. And they're like, you shouldn't ask about religion. It's like, why not? It has perfect recall, and then I can decide to validate by talking to somebody, or, you know what I mean? But to not use it.
Like if you just went back 50 years and had ChatGPT on a phone, you'd be like the smartest person on the planet.
You
would
win
none,
everything.
You'd be a god. Yeah. I mean, so where does this go with like education? I mean, you have kids. I'm around the corner from maybe having kids soon. And I always think, and like even for my own career or anything, it's like, what do you do, right? And so, for example, I love seeing kids hold jobs. Like in the 1800s, you had to have child protection laws, so 6-year-olds aren't working in a coal mine. That I think is good. But nowadays, like, why can't a 12-year-old help out his dad at a convenience store? Like, why not?
Yeah.
So
and what's the equivalent version of that in today's world?
Well, I mean, I've seen some schools that I follow a couple of these schools online that do this thing where they have a food truck. The school owns a food truck, and the teacher will help like get the truck out there, drive all the adult stuff, right? But then it's the kids' jobs to organize themselves. Who's going to be the cooks? Who's going to be the kid taking the order? How do you get money? Like, do we have to set up a Stripe account? Hey, teacher, can you help me set up a Stripe account? And I was just like, okay, this is actual learning. This like learning geometry in a school on a projector, like,
memorization.
It's like kind of, I'm not saying it's dumb, but at the same time, is it as worthy of taking up all the kids' time versus this real world experience? Because now with ChatGPT and stuff, I can figure out what an isosceles triangle is in 2 seconds. I don't need a teacher to tell me that or a textbook anymore. So like where like with your kids, you have this front row view to AI.
100%.
You also have children who you care about. What are you teaching them to do? Are like grades important? Are all these concepts out the window? How does that go?
I do not give a shit about my kids' grades.
Okay.
I'll tell you right off the bat, I didn't create the test. I don't even know where it came from. I was never consulted. I don't see the correlation between any of that stuff and success, happiness, fulfillment in life. The people teaching it, I wouldn't want my kids to be like. Most of them, some people are really incredible teachers. Other than them, I question their decisions. Mm. And first off, the other day I was mentoring 100 kids and I said, how many of you guys are being taught AI in school? These are 14, 15, 16-year-old kids. Put your hand up. No hands go up. Why? One kid screams out, because we get in trouble if we use it. Oh, nobody's teaching you AI in school? No, it's forbidden in class. Wow, fascinating. If you don't use AI in my company, you're off the team. So that's interesting. We have a school system that says if you use it, you're getting in trouble. I tell my team members, if you don't use it, you can't be on the team. And we're somehow supposed to believe the education system is aligned with the rest of the world. It's not. It can't be. Dude, we're still the school structure and curriculum and timeline was based on the farming industry. Mm-hmm. Like there's a reason why the summertime was off, and yet we still follow it for whatever reason. So my philosophy is simple. Every kid is homeschooled. It's whether the parents realize it or not. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that they it doesn't mean that they physically are homeschooled. It's have some intentionality. So what are the skills that I think my kids should be good at? Emotional intelligence, critical thinking. So since they were old enough to talk to another person, I taught them how to introduce themselves, ask for the person's name, shake their hand. I think that is a beautiful skill. When AI came out, October 2023, okay, and GPT came out, that night when we're laying in bed, I pull up my phone and I teach them how to start doing prompts. Midjourney comes out. I start teaching them how to do Midjourney. My 12-year-old son has been editing videos for 3.5 years with CapCut.
Wow.
Okay. It's just his personal passion. Now he made his first dollar doing that. It was a virtual dollar through a game. His buddy paid him to build the thumbnail for something. And to me, I'm a big fan of encouraging our kids to be creators. I think that is the future. I don't know what the economy is going to look like. Are robots going to take over? All those things are potentials, but I don't worry about the negative side because I just prepare them for what is. And all I know is that if they can, and this is all I told the schools, the only responsibility I would ask you guys to really focus on, can they read? Can they write? Can they do basic math? That's it. Like, give me those three. I'll work on the rest of them. Because the truth is like they will have access. There's no world unless some crazy, and I mean, after the global pandemic, we got to watch out what we say. Mm-hmm. If somehow AI goes away, then I guess, but the truth is then everybody's going to be in the same boat. And I taught my kids how to be polite, be risk takers, create in the world. And I think that with the tool sets they'll have at that time, that'll be better than what other people are left with. But yeah, 100%. The AI is a home inclusion teaching, has to be. Like parents have to learn it and parents have to teach their kids.
But also your kids, like I'm sure their mind is blown for like a second when they see ChatGPT, but they're going to grow up with it.
Dude, they're not blown about anything. It's just so normal. It's like, I'm not that impressed with the new iPhone.
It reminded of like, the older generation seeing computers and like all the stuff you could do on it.
Wow.
Like they used to have to go to the bank and now you can like transfer money on the computer. Like, holy crap. Yeah. Right. But then to a kid, you're like, yeah, it just makes sense. Like, of course.
Yeah. I remember my kid, cause again, they came after the internet, all that fun stuff. The first time they grabbed a magazine, they were 18 months old, and they
The little swiping thing.
they were doing that on the page. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a completely different belief. And it's funny because people always say, like, we must be living in the best time ever in evolution of human. I think every generation said that.
Probably.
Like, you know what I mean? Because it's always like, okay, maybe from our point of view, it's changed a lot, but it doesn't matter. Change is change. And I think through every generation, there's always been like, oh my God, we're living in the best. You know, like, oh, we don't have to go kill animals. We can just buy them at the local market now.
I don't think we know what our problems are. Like, for example, we still have to go to the bathroom, or we still have to drive places. We have to fly
Everybody
places.
still got the same old brain emotions. Like, that's why I tell my friends that are building like this generative wisdom stuff and like generative transfer. Like, there's all the AI is going to enable us to have essentially supporting, like, life will be supported easier. And then we still have to figure out who we are. That is the interesting part. People that don't have a spiritual connection, people that don't have a sense of purpose, people that don't understand what they have never given themselves permission to put themselves first, or all these things, they're the ones that are going to be the most affected, because anybody that's been blessed enough to had the time to contemplate those things and got to the backside of that and realize the enoughness and like why they were doing things, and they've kind of worked through that. It's the ones that haven't, and all of a sudden they're going to be like blindsided by it. Because it will come. The abundance will come. Like, there's no world where, dude, I track these 10 robotic company. People are like, oh, that's 15 years out. No, it's not, bro. It's right now. I literally can show you robots that can unpack my groceries, cars that drive themselves, manufacture things, put things away for me, walk around, do breakdance moves, like literally backflips. And then people are like, oh, that's CGI. No, that's real. This is real today. You pair AI and what's called referential learning with AI, and all of a sudden that thing gets crazy real quick. Then what? Then you literally have a butler, a lawn care person, a mechanic. You literally have all the stuff you used to have to pay, again, these middlemen to do for 12 grand. For 12 grand, you now have full time. That's done. Okay. What are you going to do at your Saturday morning? Are you going to sit there and just, Netflix? Is this what we're doing? And they may. This is the crazy part. Because I also watch the virtual reality stuff. I watch how my kids put the freaking VR headsets on and literally have complete play dates, friendships, relationships in a virtual space. I watch it. Like, it's the funniest thing to watch my kids sit there and they play this game called Gorilla Tag, and they're getting a full sweat on, and they're like ducking down. Sometimes the controller goes flying, they break it. You know, so I just think like, for me, it always comes back to, what is your relationship with life? The AI stuff is just going to enable it, and you can either be really pumped about it or super depressed about the future. That is a you choice.
Yeah. Nice. Well, dude, so let's do a couple little question answer things. So these are some of your most viral tweets. I'm going to read them. You tell me.
Oh, that's fun.
What you think. Okay. So one, you said your standards aren't what you say they are. They're what you accept.
Let me give you a great example of this. I have an incredible community of entrepreneurs that have read the book and they want my support. So we meet once a week. I monitor the chat, and I think a lot of people don't realize I'm paying attention. And I'm starting off the call and I'm talking about, I've got an event coming up in June I want everybody to know about because I don't promote it publicly. And this guy leaves a comment. He says, I can't believe this call started and all he's doing is an upsell. He literally wrote those words. Okay. His name was Rasmus. Rasmus. I looked at it, I saw that, and I said, hey, Jen, can you please remove Rasmus from the call? Give him a full refund. He can go find another group of people to be part of. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. Here's why. We have community guidelines. They're very clear. Positivity only. That was negative. My job as the person who moderates the community is to protect the community. You've probably been to these events where you sat next to a guy with that attitude. Okay. So if I don't address it the first time I see it, then do I have a standard, or do I just have something I wrote down, but I never enforce? See, a lot of people have employees, they have family members, they have things they say, this is my standard. And yet somebody violates the standard and you say nothing because you don't want to have conflict. You don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. You don't want to. Dude, my opinion is very simple. Your standards are what you accept, not what you say they are. And you have to do those things publicly in front of everybody to communicate that's not cool. And guess what? I gave him a full refund and just politely asked them. I was very polite about it. Go find another community because, dude, if you think that's normal in a public chat in front of everybody to write that and you think I'm not going to see it or I don't have opinion about it, then clearly you think I'm a certain way that I'm not. Let me remind you and everybody watching how it is. Would you be surprised to find out that after I did that, the chats just got super supportive and awesome? Mm-hmm. No, because everybody's like, oh, that's the standard around here. That's where I think people get it wrong.
Yeah, it's like a conference a moderator dad. I like whenever there's someone doing like a panel and one person hogs or some audience member just takes too long. It's like this long soliloquy instead of a question. I hate it when the moderator doesn't jump in. I'm like,
that's
this
his job.
Is your job.
Yeah,
you're supposed to be the dad here. Get on it.
And what happens is you teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
That moderator, the first time the person goes long, he doesn't say anything. He can't tell the next guy that goes long to keep it short because then he looks like he's doing favoritism.
Yeah.
Because he didn't shut it down the first time it happened.
You know, my buddy Nick Gray, who I think you know, he's really good at this. And one way he has a harmonica. And anytime someone goes long, he goes, huh, okay, let's keep these short. And then everyone's like...
But he does it the first time.
Yeah, he does it really quick.
Right
and
away.
Just without...
That's the standard.
And he's very nice about it, but everyone kind of giggles when he does it. But it's also like they're giggling, but they're also like, all right, I gotta
I'm being in check.
Here.
Yeah.
Cool. So you had another one. You said, don't dim your light for other people because it hurts their eyes.
Hell yeah. I have the privilege of coaching and mentoring a lot of women. I think it's because they know how much I love my wife and they love that and they come in my world. And I will tell you the thing that I communicate to them and I invite them to consider all the time is that they are incredible. I actually think, and I don't know if you've noticed this, when women get wealthy, more people benefit from that than a man. Period. And this is statistically proven. I mean, I've been supporting Kiva that does essentially around third world countries support women entrepreneurs because when a woman gets out of her situation, she supports her kids, she supports her family, she supports her community. I want women to be more loud and proud of who they are. I think that most people are scared to shine their light because they don't want people to say they're too much. And it's like, if you think I'm too much, man, go find less. Mm-hmm. Like I'm the happiest when I am who I am. And I know I'm too much for certain people, but guess what? I am perfect for the right person. And I think that a lot of times in life, especially where we started, I know that was true for me. Like I was, as a Canadian dude, I was like humble to a fault. Yeah. Humble doesn't pay the bills, bro. Like I love the thing that I took away living in San Francisco was that American swagger, man, that bravado, which is just saying, hey, man, I'm really proud of what I've created. And if you ask me, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm not going to like shy away from that. Mm-hmm. So that's what that means. I just think a lot of people are worried to hurt other people's eyes. I say shine brighter.
What about most of your problems could be solved if you just went to bed on time?
Well, I think problems in people's lives are a byproduct of emotional shrapnel. So emotional shrapnel is self-inflicted. It's you dropping some kind of response that creates somebody else to do something that gets you to dig in your heels. And then all of a sudden you're dealing with this. I mean, it's kind of like the people that step late and drink too much. And then they said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing to the wrong person. The next morning they wake up and they spend all this mental overhead trying to figure out how do I call the person, apologize, and deal with the thing. Sometimes those decisions literally ruin your life. Mm-hmm. I've never seen anything transformational in my life happen after 11 p.m. I think most people, if they actually went to bed on time, would not be tired, would not skip the gym, would not be emotionally deregulated, would not feel bad about themselves. Like a lot of people react to the world because they're mad at themselves, dude. I know, because I've been there. I've been that guy, man. Have you ever like felt like you're slacking a bit in life and you have a team and all of a sudden somebody on your team does something not great and you take it out on them? You're like, hey, man, we got to step it up, blah, blah, blah. But if you're honest with yourself, the reason you're like that is because you're mad at yourself for not stepping it up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, of course.
I think a lot of times just setting an alarm for when you go to bed is actually the hack, not when you wake up.
Interesting. Yeah, I've been trying to go to bed by 8 p.m. and I'm like just a
dude. That's amazing.
Well,
I'm a 9:30.
Correct. Okay. I stopped eating at 8 p.m. and for me, because that's when I get into trouble. Yeah. After 8 p.m., it's just like
never. I'm a 6 p.m. Yeah. I know I've never made good food decisions after. And this is what's crazy. Yeah. Do you notice that like the whole day you could absolutely crush it after 7, 8 p.m.? That's when you make some bad decisions?
It's always the bad time because I eat pretty healthy throughout the day. I'm pretty good. But then at night I'm let me get a little snack while I'm watching YouTube. And I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. It's literally every single time. That's my method of losing weight. Just don't eat after a certain time. I still drink. I still do all these things. I just don't do it after it.
Dude, Brian Johnson, the guy who wants to live forever, he literally said the old Brian made bad decisions after 6 p.m. and I just took those decisions away.
Yeah, he said he fired the old Brian.
I fired the old Brian. He died.
What about this one? The results you're looking for are found in the work that you've been avoiding.
Yeah, I got that. I think I heard Chris Williams say that. And he has it maybe a different way he says it, but just like that philosophy that the thing you want literally exists in the work you don't want to do. It's kind of like a question I like to ask people is, what are you pretending not to know? You know, when people ask you like, hey man, I want to be successful. What's my next step? It's like, what are you pretending not to know? Are you pretending to not know that ChatGPT exists? Like, dude, I would say that 90% of the questions people ask me, they did not first ask ChatGPT. And two things. One, they could have asked it in real time and got the answer way before they ever found the time to ask me or got in front of me. And two, that answer will probably be directionally better for them than my answer because it has pure context on who they are. So what are you pretending not to know? What work are you avoiding to do? It's almost like I believe that pain is the perfect teacher. So if you think about it, like where you are avoiding the thing is probably exactly the thing you should be doing for you to learn the lesson to move forward. But you pretend like you don't know that. So then you avoid it, or you pretend I got to go research this or get ready to do that. It's like a business. If somebody wants to start a business, I want everybody to hear this. A business is started the moment you sell something to a stranger. Period, full stop. So anything that is not standing up, making a phone call, sending an email, chatting with somebody to sell something to a stranger is just business confusion. And I think that's what I mean by that is like your result that you want out of life is on the back end of the thing that you don't want to do.
And let's see, last one. Remember, people are at war with themselves, not you.
So good. I get in trouble with people because oftentimes when I speak my truth, it kind of shows them where they've been living a lie. Because they're at war with themselves. All I do is bring that to the surface. And then they go, and then they want to attack it because they have a belief that I'm attacking through my truth that they don't want to hear. What I've learned to do, because people ask me all the time, well, how do you deal with family members? How do you deal with friends? How do you deal with people, trolls on the internet? I'm like, I just got to a place where I've accepted that we got to normalize leaving people in the reality you found them in. Like, that's their world, their construct. And how do I know that? Because I know I made up my own world. I made up my own meaning. Even words, like we talked about earlier, the word work. What does it mean for you? What does it mean for me? It means something different for somebody else. Well, that's a small example of anybody's interpretation of you doing anything. So just be okay allowing people to live in the reality that they find themselves in. You can't change that.
I remember a long time ago, I saw a thing from Jack Ma, you know, the founder of Alibaba.
Yeah.
And he put out this like article and it was called, "If You're Not a Millionaire by 35, It's Your Fault."
Yes.
And that set off a firestorm of people. But, well, here's the reasons why. And it just kind of like, at first I was like, he's just trolling. But then I was just like, you know, like if you really break it down.
I bet he had some strong arguments.
Yeah. If for 20 years straight you were hardcore set on being a millionaire, like you'd more likely achieve it than not. And if you're really, really working hard. So I'm sure there's all sorts of caveats. But it was one of those sentences that I heard that I was kind of like, oh, that's one of those things that people are going to wrestle with in their mind. And probably like affected people more than
you know. Well, I mean, what's interesting, Neville, is the amount of people that will fight for their limitations. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They literally will sit there and argue for their limitations, argue for the injustices against them, argue for their, like they literally, they have a story and you're trying to give them some thoughts or some advice or some interpretation. And they're just like, no, but like you said, yeah, but you don't understand my situation. It's like, oh, you're just trying to argue for your limited. I mean, okay, you can have that.
Yeah, one of my buddies sold his company for a lot of money, and I was just like, "How come I ran my company for the same amount of time, but didn't get that same thing?" It's like, okay, he set up an in-person office. He hired a gigantic team. He lived without a salary for a long time. He took no money. He took a lot of stress, And he did all these other things that I never did. I thought I was publishing content and stuff like that. Then when you look back at it, it's like he output like 17 times more.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
That's why. That's the reality of it. Yeah. How do people learn more about AI?
Well, I think the best way is to understand prompts. I mean, you probably spend a lot of time prompting. The challenge is most people don't have the right prompt format, nor do they understand that there's a way to actually teach it to get smarter over time. If anybody wants this, they can just follow me on Instagram. I've got this whole prompt document that I actually teach a Tony Robbins group. That is anybody's, if they want it, they can just message me the word prompt on my Instagram channel because it's the best one for messaging. And I'll just send them a direct Google link to that document.
Sweet. Follow the Instagram. Nice. Thanks,
Seriously.
Cool. That. Dude, Dan, this is awesome.
Always
appreciate it. Thanks so much, man.
Thanks, Neville. Boom.
Hey, it's Ledore here. You may see me from some of this content and wonder, what does this guy do? So my main thing we have is called copywritingcourse.com. All it is it's a simple video course that trains you how to become a great copywriter, write better emails, sales pages, promotions, email sequences, all those types of things, but also it is part service, meaning we have this really advanced behind the scenes forum where you can upload your stuff and myself and other writers will go improve it. And the easiest way to improve stuff for us is just rewriting stuff. So let's say you have a cold email that you're reaching out to thousands of people with. You upload that, give us some background information, and we can go rewrite it in the way that we see people get better conversions every single time. So you're getting myself, professional writers, and the community giving you suggestions saying, hey, I think that's more confusing. What if you write it this way? A lot of times I prefer just rewriting the whole thing and sending it to you, maybe making a couple of images to put in there. And then the other thing we do is we have live weekly office hours. That means every week, a couple of people, just a small portion, come on to calls with me live, and we go through about 8 questions each time. Now, just remember, only about 1% or less of the community will ask a question on each office hours. So you will get time to chat directly with me. And I do these myself. So we'll talk to people for 5 to 20 minutes each, going over their stuff. And the cool thing is, let's say I make some recommendations, you can go make those changes and then come back the next week and be like, what do you think of these? And then we can modify it more and more and more until you get it nice and tight and solid. So that's what the copywriting course is. It's self-paced training. It's live forum, live office hours. And what our goal is whatever you spend on us within that same year, you get 10x or more back. So if you spend a certain amount of money, my goal is always that my training and help will make you 10x more back. Now, I can't always prove and guarantee that, but at the same time, this happens with so many people that it's always my goal with customers. So go to copywritingcourse.com and join. And I hope you're pleasantly surprised with our service. People say it's the best course community that they've ever joined in their entire lives. So I hope you have the same result, and I'll see you inside. Take care.